I was 18 years old when I volunteered, decided of my own volition to join the U.S. Air Force and go off to serve my country. And I served during the first Desert Storm War, initially called Desert Shield. I was in Honduras when it kicked off, and they moved me from Honduras to England to be a part of the war front, if you will. I was never actually in combat as a firefighter. I was always waiting in the wings, so to speak. But I wasn't forced to do that. I wasn't conscripted to do that. I wasn't drafted to do that. I did that by choice. And I did it for one very specific reason. And I think you should know what that is. Welcome to Leading Leaders Podcast. 5-minute videos, 5 days a week. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. You know, one of the songs that came out, just basic song lyrics, well-written song lyrics, they have a deep meaning. Good song lyrics do. They usually tell of a story. They remind you of something. They're nostalgic and emotional in their nature when they're well written. Now, there are some songs that are just about being stoned, or just about being high, or just about getting the girl, or just about getting drunk, or just about getting the money. And that's about as deep as they go. And then there are some that there's an example. There's a song by the Scorpions that was actually released about Gorky Park, which was part of a revolution that took place in the 80s. And that song was actually written by the CIA and released into the public to make revolutionary type change in the society where it was released. Most people saw that it was an enormous hit, and they didn't realize how the lyrics were so powerfully revealing. If you go back and read the lyrics, you still won't get it unless you also go back and read the history of a period of about 5 to 8 years, because it wasn't long after that song came out where they talked about going down to Gorky Park. The song is called Winds of Change by the Scorpions, and they talk about all the transition that's coming. It wasn't long after that before the infamous phrase, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, came. It was a powerful moment in the change of the world. But the song that really spurred me to do what I did was a song by Lee Greenwood. A song where the lyrics said, if tomorrow all the things were gone that I've worked for all of my life, and I had to start again with nothing but my children and my wife, I would thank my lucky stars to be living here today, where the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. In the chorus of that song, he says over and over, I'm proud to be an American. And that's a powerful phrase. In that season of life, the late 80s and early 90s, when I heard the song, when I joined the American Air Force, it was about the same time that Winds of Change was playing in Eastern Europe. About the same time that Eastern Europe and the USSR were going through a major evolution toward democracy and away from communism. And today in our world, I see that my young grandchildren and my children are experiencing a world that seems to be moving back toward what the USSR was and not what America is. Where the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. I know there are some people who deeply believe in their heart that that flag doesn't stand for their freedom, that it doesn't stand for opportunity for them because they haven't had the same results that others have had. But I also can tell you I have dear friends who are immigrants from Afghanistan, immigrants from Pakistan, immigrants from Iran. And I don't mean second, third generation people who can tell you a little bit about what their parents have told them. I mean people who I've sat down across the dinner table with and spent hours with. I've spent the night or multiple nights in their home with them. I've traveled abroad with them to Cuba, to the Congo. I've had dinner with their family to the degree that we had to have translators because I couldn't understand everything that was going on at the dinner table without a translator. I've had them in my home in the U.S. and spent long hours having conversation with them. And I can tell you, those who have migrated to the U.S., who have gone through the process to become legal citizens here, are proud to be American. They cherish the rights and the opportunities that come with standing up next to the flag and saying, "This is my country." I can also tell you that many of those who have not yet made that transition but plea for it, without question, they weep at night, longing for the opportunity to become Americans. Willing to serve in the military, willing to start on the streets with nothing in their pocket, willing to start over with nothing. Good friends of mine who have walked through that process, who've come to the U.S. with a pocket full of change and built their own business and their own family here. Even some that today don't live high on the hog, so to speak, but they have a family that they are taking care of and they can cherish, and that they have built in a nature of responsibility in them. To be American is a powerful, powerful thing. Yes, there are places in the world that still look at America as a bad thing, but not many. And there are also places in the world that look at America and say what America has been over the last 250 years is what we hope one day to be. And as I say that, when I picture that phrase where the flag still stands for freedom, I know that today there are people burning the American flag in the streets. Seems ironic, doesn't it? That the flag that stands for freedom, that protects your First Amendment right to free speech, to have whatever opinion you want to have and to voice it out loud, so long as it doesn't cause harm to someone else, that flag, which represents that freedom, is being burned by the people who are exercising the freedom. What an ironic twist of fate. But the real irony is the fact that it is the people who have that right who are suppressing the right of others to express their opinion through bullying tactics, through violence, through looting. I understand that there was an issue and are issues still in the way that law enforcement is done in the United States. I'm not questioning that at all. I am saying, though, that there has been a blend, if you will, between the agenda that protested the inequality that we see and the agenda of an organization that would love to see America burn. And when you put those two things together, you have a very dangerous mix. Because you have one group of people who are passionately supporting a cause that should be supported, and you have another group who are using them like puppets to accomplish what they would never agree with. It's amazing to me, and it's also heartbreaking. But then you also have those who sit high on the mountain, out of the reach, if you will, of the chaos, who really stand financially and manipulatively and from a control standpoint to benefit from the chaos and the destruction. Because they will come riding in like a white horse and try to fix all of the problems. When I've been abroad to speak, when I've had the opportunity to speak to government leaders and even local civic leaders, one of the questions I ask all the time is, how much more can we get the central government to help us do what we need to do in our local community? And I can only echo the sentiment of Ronald Reagan, who said the most frightening phrase you'll ever hear is, "We're from the government and we're here to help," because that's an oxymoron. But you've got to learn how to be self-sufficient. You've got to learn how to rely on the government only for the security of your nation. That's its primary purpose, security and civility. Everything else the government tries to get involved in costs 10 times more and takes 10 times longer. That has only been evidenced forever in every type of society, on every place on the earth for all of human history. If you don't believe me, look it up. Do some research. There's never been a time when government involvement made things better, cheaper, or faster. It hasn't happened. But what we do find is that individuals become the pawns in the scheme of those who want more money and more control. And those who are less informed and more passionately, emotionally manipulated, they become the rioters in the street. They become easy to poke and prod, easy to provoke. They have the least amount to lose. They haven't spent their life building something up, and so there's nothing to take away. There's nothing to lose, except in their eyes to take away from those who have something that they may have gotten through or gotten gain. What they don't see is that the people who are provoking that conversation have the most to gain by taking it away from everyone else. And they will. It has been the course of these structures of government like socialism, communism, and Marxism forever. Everywhere that those forms of government take over, the classes are separated. The elitists live in a hypocrisy type of a life where they get everything they want by taking it from everyone else. And everyone else, well, they get to stand in food lines. There's a reason that I'm proud to be an American, where the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. But I also understand that, as our founding fathers once said, we've given you a republic if you can keep it. And if you can keep it is the key. Our political process has been established and effective for both sides, left and right, for over 200 years. What we're seeing today is an effort to dismantle, to discredit, to destroy that process. To make a point that being an American is an ashamed thing, that we should be ashamed, that we should be shameful because we call ourselves American, that for some reason, somehow, we've taken and stolen everything that we have and given nothing back. I think you'll find that, if you do the homework, to be untrue, that America has been among the most generous in the history of humans, to give in times of disaster, to provide help, to provide hope, to provide direction, to provide education, to provide relief, to provide human rights all over the world since the founding. Yes, mistakes have been made. Yes, stupid ideologies have been followed. But if you can compare the good with the bad, it's not even close. Do we still live in the land of the free and the home of the brave? Or do we live in a place where only the elites get to prosper and everyone else will do as they're told? Now, I'm sure that once the transcript of this video is digested by the digital media, the first thing you'll see is that even though this video is well over 10 minutes long, Facebook will tell me that I can't premiere it because it's not over 3 minutes. That's been their tactic of late, that they won't suppress it. They just make sure that I don't premiere it so that nobody knows that I'm putting videos out. Ironic, really, that I complain about Facebook limiting my right to free speech when the platform is free and it's their platform. It's almost as ridiculous to claim that Facebook is throttling my message or quieting my message. Almost as ironic as burning the flag, which stands for the freedom that gives you the right to burn the flag. It's really ironic, isn't it? And yet, I know that it's going to happen because it's their practice and it just makes sense. This video probably will not premiere because all they got to do is just give it that one little check mark that says it's not over 3 minutes long and it's not an HD. They do that on a regular basis to my videos that are 5 to 7, sometimes 12 minutes long. It's a suppression, but I get it. So if you appreciate this message and the challenge that it represents to simply stand up for our flag as it flies today, to be proud to be an American, whatever that means to you, to live in a country that is still free to make choices, still free to speak out, still free to practice your own religion, still free to gather with the people that you choose to spend time with, then you need to be engaged in that actively. Right now is early voting, but November the 3rd is the chance to decide what kind of America you want to live in going forward. Will it be the winds of change and Gorky Park? Will it be God bless the USA? Will it be something entirely different that we've never known here? It's up to you, really. It's your decision. You can lead your family best by deciding now what kind of country your children and grandchildren will live in. And let me challenge you. If you're in your early 20s and you're still considered someone else's dependent, you're still living at home, you're still counting on somebody else to pay all the bills, fast forward in your own mind 5 years, 10 years, and ask yourself, what kind of country do I want? Do I want a country where education is free but jobs can't be had? Do I want a country where healthcare is free but I got to stand in line for months to get it? Oh, sure, you don't have to pay for it, but what you get isn't worth paying for anyway. Well, why do you think people from countries where healthcare is free come to America to be treated? It's not an accident. It's intentional. It may be free, but just because it's free doesn't mean you're going to get what you want. Or go stand in a soup line where the homeless are fed for free and see what kind of food they get. It's not Olive Garden. No, that's not what they're served. They're served whatever you can make in a 50-gallon vat and slop it onto the plate. Not because we don't love them, but because that's how you feed thousands of people on the cheap. If that's where you want your children and grandchildren to grow up, vote that way. And if you're proud to be an American, where the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away, vote that way. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. For our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.